In this topic, we'll be studying data input in Java. So guys, I'm pretty sure you must have done data input in C language or maybe in Python. Now, data input in C is very simple, but somehow doing data input in Java is not so simple, it is quite difficult. And just in case you have forgotten the meaning of data input, let me remind you. Data input is the process in which we take data from the user. Here onwards, whenever I say we, whenever I say we take data, that we means the program over here. So data input is a process in which the program takes data from the user. Now, in order to understand data input properly, let's do a demo program. So this question says WAJP, which means write a Java program to read and then display employee name, code, salary and employee grade, where employee grade will be a single character like A, B, C or D. So basically in this program what we are going to do is we are going to assume as if there is an employee and we are going to read his name, his employee code, his salary and his grade. So let's start with the program. Things are difficult. And before I start with the program, let me tell you something in general about Java, entire Java. See, if you want to make Java simple for you, then you need to remember things which I will teach you in Java. What happens is that a C language is syntactically pretty lightweight, whereas Java is syntactically pretty heavyweight, which means in Java you have to remember lots and lots of syntactical details. And that is something which you will realize in this topic also. So remember the syntax and things will be simple for you in Java. So let's start with the program. Now, in this program, you will see many things in blue color. Whatever you see in blue color over here is related to data input. So here onwards, whenever you do any program on data input, you should start that program with import java.io.star. Now, what exactly is this import statement? What is this java.io.star? Unfortunately, I will not be able to tell you why we are writing this statement right now. I will be able to explain you this statement only when we do the chapter of packages. I repeat, packages. So for time being, just remember that whenever you start any program on data input, you should start the program with this import statement. After that, you will start with the class. So as usual, we write class followed by the name of the class. Remember that class names often start in uppercase. So I write class read data. Followed, now inside the class, I will give a void main. So I write public static void main string args. Now what is it which you see new over here? Throws IO exception. As I told you, things in blue color are related to data input. You should write this only when you are doing data input. Once again, I will not be able to explain you why I wrote this throws IO exception. You will understand why I wrote this in the chapter of exception handling. I repeat, exception handling. Okay. So for time being, just remember it in this way. Tell me one thing, what exactly this void main is? Is it an array or a class or a method? What it is? This void main is basically a method. It is basically a function. So the rule is whenever you are going to do data input inside a method, you should write throws IO exception in its first line. I repeat, whenever you do data input inside a method, you should write throws IO exception in its first line. So that is the rule. Okay. So these two things, this one and this one, why we write it, I'll tell you later on. In fact, there is one more thing, the last thing about which I will explain you later, and that is these two statements. See, what happens is that whenever you do any program on data input, your method should start with these two statements. Once again, why we write these two statements, that you will automatically understand in next chapter called classes and objects. Okay. So for time being, look at the syntax carefully. Input stream reader ISR is equal to new input stream reader system.in. Over here, ISR should be in uppercase. This one, this I, this S, this R. Similarly, buffered reader stdin is equal to new buffered reader isr. Here this B and this R should be in uppercase. I told you the syntax of Java is quite difficult. Now over here, just remember one thing, that this ISR, and this stdin are just names. So it is quite possible that at some other place, in some other textbook, instead of ISR, you may see simply I. Instead of stdin, you may see BR. BR stands for buffered reader, by the way. Okay, so this stdin, ISR are just names. You can use any name over here. Moreover, some teachers do one thing, they combine these two statements. That means what they do is they write this way: input stream reader ISR is equal to new input stream reader, and then instead of writing system.in, they combine the two statements in this manner. What they will do is they will not write this statement, okay, they will not write the first statement, and then the second statement they will write this way: buffered reader stdin is equal to new buffered reader, and instead of ISR, they will write this right hand side, new input stream reader system.in. Anyway, if we combine the two statements, it becomes too long. So let's keep it as it is, the best which we can do. All right. Now, till here, we were doing only some groundwork. We were doing only some preparation. Now, let's start with actual data input. So, don't forget, we want to read the employee name, code, salary, and his employee grade. So first of all, I will write this SOP, system.out.print. In short, I'll call it SOP. So what this SOP is displaying? It is displaying enter name. Now for a best understanding, what I will do is, I will also show you the input output simultaneously. The input output which you normally see on the command prompt, that also I will show you simultaneously. So see, this is the input output, and over here you will see something like enter name. And now the cursor blinks over here. Okay, now the user will obviously enter his name. So let's say the user enters his name Jack. Okay, now tell me one thing, what do you think is the data type of Jack? Okay, is it int, is it float, is it double, what is it? It is string. Jack is a string. So this means that now we want to read a string. Once again, when I say we, I mean the program. The program wants to read the string. So first of all, I will declare a string variable over here by writing string s1. So what this statement is doing is, it is creating a variable s1 of data type string. This s must be in capital. We have a whole chapter on string later on. Okay, so now what is the aim over here? Listen to this carefully. The user has entered, the user has typed this Jack, which is a string. Now we want to take this Jack from the user and we want to assign it to S1. So for that, I'll write a statement S1 is equal to stdin.readLine. Once again, look at the syntax of read line. R is in lowercase, L is in uppercase. Now, till next chapter, till we do chapter number 4, classes and objects. Okay, let's ignore this stdin dot, only this much part, stdin dot. By the way, this stdin over here is called an object. Right now you don't know an object, so let's pay more attention to this read line. Let's understand what this read line is doing. Now I always tell my students, pay attention to the name and derive the meaning from the name itself. So what this read line is doing is, it is reading the line entered by the user. So the user has entered Jack, which is read by this read line. By the way, the two parentheses over here should tell you that this read line is a method, it is a function. So now you have to remember it in this way. In Java, if you want to read a string, then you should use the function, the method read line. So now read line will read Jack and will assign it to S1. Let me see how attentive you are. Tell me what will be the output of this SOP. Well, it will be name colon Jack. Don't forget this S1 is outside the double quotes, so its value will be displayed. And the value of S1 is Jack, which was given to S1 by read line. Okay. Alright, so you understood how to read a string in Java. Alright, now let's go to the next part. Now let's say I write this. Come on, tell me what will this display? So this will display enter code. Now the user will type the code. So the user types, let's say, sorry, 1, 2, 3. Now what we want to do is, first of all, we need to declare a variable over here which can store 1, 2, 3. So now you know the data type of 1, 2, 3, what it is? It is integer. So I'll create one int variable, let's say n. Now what I want to do is, I want to take 1, 2, 3 from the user and assign it to n. Now how do I do that? So listen to this carefully. Things are difficult, things are interesting. So I write this. N equal to integer.parseint stdin.readline. Now what exactly will it do? Pay good attention to this. Now over here, I am using a technique called nesting of functions, nesting of methods. By the way, nesting means one inside another. So you have the method readline inside the method Parseint. Now whenever we do nesting of methods, the inner method will execute first. So here what will happen is readline will execute first. Now let's see how things will work over here. See, you told the user to enter the code and the user has typed 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now this innocent guy has typed integer 1, 2, 3. But what has happened over here? There is a bit of something is weird over here. Something is different over here. Pay attention to this. Over here, first of all, this read line will come into action. Now you have studied read line over here also. So tell me what read line is capable of reading. So read line is capable of reading a string. So now what will happen? This 1, 2, 3 will be read by read line. But 1, 2, 3 will be read as a string like this. So see, understand what is weird over here. The weird part over here is that the user had given me integer 1, 2, 3. But read line read it as string 1, 2, 3. So if you really understood this, can you tell me what is the value of this underlined part now? Look at this mouse pointer. What is the value of this underlined part? The value of this underlined part is now string 1, 2, 3. When I say string 1, 2, 3, I mean 1, 2, 3 in double quotes. Okay. Alright. Now, what is the data type of n? Well, it is int. So, I don't want string 1, 2, 3 over here. I want integer 1, 2, 3 over here. So, tell me in simple plain English, what we need to do over here? Well, we need to convert the string 1, 2, 3 into integer 1, 2, 3. And who will do that work? Well, that work will be done by Parseint. If you want, you can pause the video and you can write the meaning of the word parse. Parse means integer. Okay, parse means integer. If you want, pause the video and write it. Okay, so why do we write this integer dot? That you will automatically understand in the next chapter. So right now, don't bother too much about this stdin dot, integer dot. Let's focus on this Parseint. Now, what is the parameter of Parseint over here? That means, what is the input which you give to Parseint? So, the Parseint is given this input. This input means what? It means a string 1, 2, 3. So, what Parseint will do, look at this mouse pointer, it will convert string 1, 2, 3 to integer 1, 2, 3. So, that work is done by Parseint. And now, n gets 1, 2, 3. So, tell me what is the output? Well, it is code colon 1, 2, 3. Okay. I'm sure you understood this. If you understood this, the next segment will be simple for you. Now, before I go to the next segment, I will just tell you one thing which I forgot telling you earlier. See, what happens is, over here I wrote enter name and the user gave me Jack. Let's say the user had typed something like this: Jack space, okay, Jack space Anthony. I repeat, or let's say the user has typed something like this: Jack space Jill. Okay, I am more interested in the space over here. Okay, so if the user has entered Jack space Jill, remember one thing, S1 will get the entire Jack space Jill. So what I wanted to tell you is that this read line can read strings with blank spaces in them. That means it can read an entire line with blank spaces in that line. Okay. Anyway, moving ahead. Now this segment should be simple for you. Now the SOP is asking the user to enter salary. Okay, so enter salary, cursor will blink, user will enter a salary. Salary will normally have a decimal point in it. Always remember that whenever you have anything in terms of money, salary, fees, anything, okay, it will have a decimal point in it. Okay, so tell me, what should be the data type of salary over here? Well, ideally we keep it double. I hope you remember that we normally don't use data type float in Java. We use data type double. Okay. Now, if you understood this line, this line, okay, then the next is simple. Now, what we want to do is we want to take 500.5 and give it to salary. But wait, Java has a peculiar habit, or I will say Java has a shortcoming. What shortcoming? Java considers every damn input as a string. For Java, everything is a string. So whether you enter an integer, whether you enter a real number with decimal point, Java will consider it to be a string. So can you take a guess what is going to come next? Well, I think guessing that is pretty simple. You will write salary equal to double dot parse double std and dot read line. Again the same concept. This std and dot read line will read 500.5 as a string. Then that 500.5 will be converted by parse double to data type double. Okay, so basically over here read line does the work of reading, parse double does the work of converting, and then sal will be equal to 500.5 of data type double. So I think this output is simple, salary colon 500.5. Now if you look at this statement, this one and this one, this one and this one, you should understand one thing, and what that one thing is. You should understand one thing, that over here parseint and parse double are not doing the work of reading. Parseint and parse double are doing the work of conversion. The work of reading is always done by read line. Okay. Now we have to read the employee grade. So I will tell the user to enter grade. So see over here, enter grade. Now grade is one character, so the user will type A. Alright. So I will declare a variable of what data type? Character. Okay, so I have a character variable grade. Now let's understand what has happened till now and now what we are going to do. See, if you are paying attention throughout the entire program, you must have realized that in this program I have taught you how to read a string. I have taught you how to read an integer. I have taught you how to read a real number with a decimal point. And now I am going to teach you how to read a character. As I told you before, that data input in Java is not a simple process. Okay, it is quite complicated. And similarly, reading a character in Java is more complicated. I don't know why it is that way, but it is that way. So for reading a character, I'll write this. I'll write grade equal to char std and dot read. Now because I don't have place on this screen, what I will do is I will explain you the meaning of this blue color on the next screen. For time being, just understand what this blue color will do is that it will take this A, that means character A from the user, and will assign it to grade. So tell me what will be the output? It will be grade colon A here. Okay, grade colon A. Okay, the output will be grade colon A. Alright, and here I complete the void main. This is the closing brace of void main, okay, and the closing brace of class. Okay, now I'll explain you this thing. Let's understand how this works. Okay, if you want, you can pause the video and copy this entire program. Come on, copy this entire program. In fact, not only the program, the entire screen. That means you'll copy this program, you'll copy input output, and you'll copy all this. And whatever you see in blue color, I very strongly suggest that you also give it in blue color or some other color, and you should remember it in this way, that whatever you see in blue color is related to data input. Remember guys, these colors will help you a lot. So copy this in your notebook Okay, now let's talk about this statement, how this statement works. Okay, don't forget that a user had typed a on the user had typed a and grade got the value a using this blue color. Now over here what happens is the user types character a. Okay, so the innocent user, he gave character a. Now over here, first of all, this read function will come into picture. Don't forget the earlier function, earlier similar sounding function was called read line. This is not read line, this is read. Now what this read function will do, once again slightly weird, something unexpected. The read function will read character A, but it will read character A as its ASCII value, not as it is. See, things are weird. So if you understood, tell me what will you see over here now? You will see 65. So see how things are stupid, how things are funny and absurd. The user had typed A, but function read it as its ASCII value 65. So now what happens is this thing, see where my mouse pointer moves, see carefully where it moves, here. From here to here, it got converted to 65. It is now, sorry, replaced by 65, not converted. Okay, so now this is 65. Now I don't want to give 65 to grade, okay. So what I do, within parenthesis I write char over here. Can you tell me what is this technique called? This technique is called typecasting. I repeat, typecasting. So what I'm doing is I'm converting this 65 again to char, and now once again I get A, which is given to grade. So this is how a character is read in Java. If you have copied the earlier program, then I suggest that you copy this explanation also. Alright. Now till here you have studied one technique of inputting data in Java. Now what happens is that Java has gone through many versions. The current version of Java which we are doing is version 14. Okay. So this technique of reading things in Java, I think this technique was introduced in version 4 or 5. Then when version 6 came later on, one more technique of data input was introduced which was simpler than this technique. So now what we will do is, we will do the same program again, but we will use a different technique of data input. Okay. So now what you do is, copy this question, do the above program using scanner class. Come on, do that. Alright, okay. By the way, I hope that you had copied the earlier question also for this program. This was the question, this was the heading, this was the question. So I hope you gave the heading, you wrote the question. After the heading and the question, you copied this entire screen, alright. And now after copying the entire screen, you copied the explanation for char. Alright, and after this, now you are copying this question. Okay, alright. Now over here, I will explain you this technique, this program using the method of difference. Method of difference means, now what you will do is, you will keep your notebook in front of you where you have copied the earlier program. I repeat, keep the notebook in front of you where you have copied the earlier program, and we'll compare that program with this one, and that way we'll find it very simple. Okay, so let's start. So in this program, we are going to use something called scanner class. Now before I move further, I just want to remind you one thing, or I want to bring your attention to one thing, I will say. See, look at this input stream reader, look at this buffer reader, look at the spellings. And now also remember a topic called naming convention. I hope you remember that I had taught you naming convention, and I told you it is a very important concept in Java. So looking at this spelling, what do you think? What is this input stream reader, buffer reader? Well, they are predefined classes which you are using in your program. So the way you have used input stream reader, buffer reader over here, in the next program, we are going to use a class called scanner class. So in your college, your teacher could be using any technique. Your teacher could be using buffer reader technique, which means this one, or the scanner class technique, which is the next one. Okay, that does not make a big difference. All right. Okay. Now, let's go to the scanner class program. Okay, so the question says do the above program using scanner class. All right, now I'll come to know how attentive you were. In fact, you will come to know how attentive you were. Now, in the earlier program, there were things in red color and blue color. So tell me which color will change in this program? The blue color. Why? Because that blue color was related to data input. I hope your notebook is in front of you where you are looking at the earlier program. Okay. If you have not copied the earlier program, first copy it and then come to this part of the video. Okay. So in your earlier program, you wrote import java.io.star. Here I'll write import java.util.scanner. Here S is capital because scanner is the name of the class. Now once again, instead of writing scanner over here, you could have written a star, which is also correct. Sorry, why to write this statement? I will explain you in the chapter of which one? Packages. So don't think about why to write it, okay? Now we'll start with the class read data. See, red color is same, but slightly different over here. Tell me what is missing over here? See, in the earlier program, we wrote throws IO exception. But if you are using scanner class, you don't need to write anything over here. No substitute over here. Just leave it empty. Okay. All right. Now, in the earlier program, over here you had two statements. Now, those two statements will be replaced by a single one. Scanner S equal to new scanner system dot in. In some colleges, some teachers, what they do is instead of writing S, they write SC. So that is also okay. This S is just a name. If you want, you can write your name. You can even write my name. That is okay. I could have written scanner Sandeep equal to new scanner system dot in. Okay. Sorry. All right. Now, just one more thing, just for your knowledge, I am telling you this thing, not actually from exam point of view. This system.in which you see over here, it is actually the keyboard. So over here, we are reading data from the keyboard. So the system.in means we are reading from the keyboard. Okay. Anyway, let's move ahead. Now, which color over here will be same? So the red color will be same. See, same. Okay. Now, I want to read a string from the user. Okay. So in the previous program, we wrote S1 is equal to stdin.readline. Now that stdin of previous program is replaced by S of this program. I repeat, the stdin of previous program got replaced by S over here. So now we will write S dot something instead of writing stdin dot something. So we'll write S1 equal to S dot next line. So things are very simple. The way in which we have read line in the earlier program, over here using the scanner class, we have next line. The work done by read line and next line is same. So the next line method will read a string. After that, the red color will be same. Next part same. Okay, now what did we write in the earlier program? So we wrote a big statement, n is equal to integer.parseint stdin.readline. And that statement did the work of reading an integer. Here I'll write n equal to, see how simple, s dot next in. So over here, see carefully, look at the spelling of next int, look at the spelling of next line, and once again remember naming convention. You had studied naming convention that methods are normally written this way. You will start with lowercase and after that the next word will start with uppercase. So next line over here, next int over here is a method and next int is a method to read an integer. See, as simple as that. So here onwards, if you want to read integer, you should write s dot next int and after that same. Now in the earlier program, it was salary is equal to double dot parse double stdin dot readline. If you are really attentive, tell me now, you will write what? You will write sal equal to, what is it? S dot next double. Yes. Okay. Very simple. Okay. So if you want to read a string, next line. If you want to read an integer, next int. If you want to read a double, next double. Okay. Pay attention to lowercase, uppercase. N is lowercase, D is uppercase. Okay. After that, same. Now over here, I will add one extra segment over here which was not in the earlier program. Why I'm doing that, you will come to know quickly. So I will ask the user to enter designation. Now the designation of the employee could be something like, sales manager or office assistant or general manager or CEO. Okay. So tell me what will be the data type of this designation? Well, it will be string. So I will write string S2. Okay. Now, can you take a guess what is the next statement which will come over here? That means I want a statement which will take the string from the user and will give it to S2. So what will be that statement? Well, that statement will be S2 equal to, if you said S dot next line, you are correct. Okay, if you said S2 is equal to S dot next line, you are right. But I am going to write over here S2 is equal to S dot, what is it? Next. Okay. So now, you may ask me what is the difference between this next line and next. Okay. So to understand that, let's take an example. See, I am asking the user to enter a designation. Okay. And let's say that a designation given by the user is sales manager. Okay. Sales manager, sales space manager. Okay. So now, let's understand the difference between these two. So tell me one thing before I tell you, you tell me one thing. What will be the output of this SOP? Come on. So the SOP output will be designation colon sales. That's it. I repeat, designation colon sales. So that means the manager will not be read by this next. So now tell me the difference between next line and next. What is the difference? Well, the difference is simple. Next line can read a string with blank spaces, whereas next cannot read strings with blank spaces. Okay, the method next will stop reading at the occurrence of the first blank space. So in this case, what must have happened is this method next, it started reading SALES, then it saw blank space. The moment it saw the blank space, it stopped reading. So S2 is equal to sales. And the output is designation colon sales. Okay. Now let's move further and read a character. So I will say enter grade. Alright. Now grade is of data type char. So char grade. And now I need to write a statement to read a character. As I have been telling you, Java is quite weird. In fact, a simple task like character reading is also difficult. More difficult than reading other things. So I will write something like grade equal to, see, quite difficult, s dot next dot char at 0. This is 0, this is not O. Well, I'll explain this to you in detail. For time being, just be convinced that this blue color will read the character and will assign it to grade. So the next SOP will be same as the earlier program, grade colon, and this may display something like A, B, C, whatever. Then we close the void main and we close the entire class. Okay. Now let's understand what is happening here. Things are difficult, and whatever I'm explaining you over here, you will understand this better in the chapter of strings. Over here, I'm using something called char at. This char at is a method which we will study in detail in the chapter of strings. So that time you will understand this concept better, but still let's give it a try. Now over here I am using a technique called dash of functions. Can you fill in the blank? What is that dash? No, it's not nesting, it is chaining of functions. Okay, there's a difference. When you see the earlier program and this one, you will understand the difference. Anyway, now let's not go into that detail of chaining and nesting. So over here, I'm using a technique called chaining of functions. So chaining over here simply means using one function after another. So over here, what will happen is, what is happening is that I'm using two functions, two methods. The first one is method next and the second one is method char at 0. Now first of all, the method next will do its work. So what will happen over here? Be attentive. You told the user to enter grade, so he will type, the user, the innocent user will type character A. He is typing a character. Now you already know what next will do. So next will read A, but as a as a string. So see carefully that this A has now become a string. So now this part, see where my mouse pointer is moving, only this part has become a string, and that is string A. So that this has become A dot caret 0. Okay, so now this has become a string. Now before I go to this caret, I want you to understand one thing, that just like an array, in a string also the characters have position numbers. So tell me, in this string how many characters are there? Only one. And that one character is at which position? 0, right? 0. So now what will happen is, when we write a dot char at 0, so now that character which will be at position 0 will be retrieved. Now which is the character at position 0? So it is again A. Alright, some of you must be finding it very funny and absurd, but that is the way things work. Please understand that this is a single character, whereas this is a string in Java. Okay, so this is the way in which we can read a character when we use the scanner class. Alright, so now you copy this entire screen, okay, and also copy this explanation of reading the character. Alright, come on, do that. If you want, you can write some notes in your own words about next line and next. Next line can read strings with blank spaces, next cannot. Okay, so that was data input in Java.